If you like this video, subscribe to my channel, but let's get right to it. Rambo Last Blood. I just went and saw a matinee of this movie. Here's my ticket stub right here. I just want to say that, like, this is the second weekend that the movie's been out. And, you know, a lot of people try this horse race stuff where they gotta get their videos out ASAP, so they go see the movie ASAP and all that kind of stuff. And so I was checking out people's reviews last week around when the sneak previews and stuff were coming out, but there were people that were putting out very generic reviews of the movie that I noticed. One person, I'll leave him nameless, has over 30,000 subscribers, and he BS'd his way through a review, basically reading the bullet points, some of the stuff that Stallone had said on the press junket, and so on and so on. And I called him out because I follow this guy with 30,000 subscribers, and so many people gave me a thumbs up by calling him out on his fake review. I know there's a lot of people out there. I know Austin, who has the review show. I follow him on social media. When he's at the movie theater, he'll point at the movie poster and take a photo and put that out there and things like that. And you know, when you go to these movies, you know, you want to have a good time and you want to tell people about the movie, but don't fake. This is not the first time I've caught somebody doing this. They go out there and they get ahead of the horse race and they drop their video early, but all of a sudden, I just was picking up on little cues. This one person didn't even name any of the actors that were in it, didn't give any of the, it was just a bunch of BS. And so when I get on here, I'm legit, man. Like, I check out the movies, I do my thing. And it's really disappointing to see people who are trying to grow their channels up against these people that have thousands and thousands of subscribers, and they're literally faking reviews. Now, they're faking reviews. So with that being said, Rambo Last Blood was badass. First of all, it's rated R, which some of the scenes I thought could have been NC-17, but look, the movie's already been out for a week and a half or 2 weeks. This is the second weekend, so I'm spoiling, man. I'm going to talk about scenes in the film and stuff that got me excited. It was directed by Adrian Grunberg, which I'm not really familiar with too much of his work, and I thought the directing was okay for this movie. You know, it's a Rambo film. I mean, what are you going to do with it, right? Are you going to show beautiful sweeping shots and things like that? No, it's going to be action. It's going to be action-packed. So Stallone's back. This is the fifth film. Now, the last movie, when he was in Burma, he just annihilated people. And I absolutely love the fact that, like, this guy, he was so twisted, he had to go back to, like, Vietnam, because that was the only place he felt like he could get along, and catching cobras and shit and milking them and stuff for venom. I mean, like, and then what he did in Burma with that 50 cal mounted on that Jeep, just destroying these Burmese, like, pirates. I mean, dude, it was amazing and so violent and such a huge leap forward from the last one. Now, I saw First Blood 2 in the theater, 3 and 4. I think I was really young when the first one came out, and I caught it on HBO and reruns when I was little. So I didn't get to see that one in the theater. But this movie was so good. I'll get back to it. So Adrian Grunberg directed this thing. It was rated R. Stallone is back. Yvette Monreal, I believe that's how you say her name. She played Gabrielle, which was his kind of like a daughter-esque. He kind of... All right, so after what happened in Burma, he comes back. You remember seeing that at the end where of the last Rambo film, where he's walking down to his Rambo homestead. You know, like, the journey's over and he's back in Arizona, and there's a mailbox that says Rambo, and he's walking down the highway or whatever, or the road, somewhere out in the Arizona desert, which borders like Mexico. So you think, okay, look, this guy, he's back home, everything's going to be great, and all this kind of stuff. And what's really cool is in the beginning of the new Rambo Last Blood, they have this montage where they show all these awesome photos of him over the years, and him in the military and all this other kind of stuff. And then, you know, where they checked off on the wall where he grew up and stuff. So you knew this was the house that Rambo grew up in. And so he's there, and he's there with Yvette Monreal, I guess that's how you're saying her name. She plays Gabrielle, and she plays the grandmother of Gabrielle, okay? And so he's kind of taken this family in, right? And so this one young girl, you know, for about 8 years, he raised her on the homestead because deadbeat dad and the mother died. So he's raising, so they're living in his house and all this kind of stuff. And you know, it gives him this life that he never had and everything. But of course, Gabrielle, this one character, she's, you know, like everybody, she's got daddy issues, and she just wonders why her father abandoned her. And so she has a friend of hers that was kind of like, that moved to Mexico, who used to be there in Arizona, named Giselle. And that's played by Vanessa Pinata. Now, Giselle, this character, like, she's been in a ton of other things. I absolutely despised her character in this. I hated her so much. Oh my God. Oh my God, I hated this. I hated this character. And I feel bad because this actress was really good, and she's been in lots of other things, Vanessa Pinata. But I hated her in this, dude. And I wanted Rambo to kill her, but he didn't. Okay, but he should have killed her. Anyway, so she goes back to Mexico. Giselle is living in Mexico, and she finds out where Gabrielle's father that abandoned her almost a decade earlier is living, and passes that info to Gabrielle. And Gabrielle's like, oh my God, I gotta go see my dad. I gotta go find out why he left my mother and I. Why? Why did he? So, and of course Rambo's like, oh, you shouldn't go, you know, your family's here. It's like, he never changes. He's got a black heart, and people with black hearts never change. I know a lot of people with black hearts. And so that's kind of a theme of the movies, but the hearts. So Stallone, anyway, make a long story short, she goes down there, she sees the dad. Dad's a complete asshole and doesn't want anything to do with her, and so her greatest fears have come true. She got no closure, she got nothing. She thought, you know, she probably thought it was gonna be one of these, oh, we're gonna hug and embrace it, and this guy was just like, I didn't want you, I got my own life now. So she comes out, she's all distraught, and Giselle says, well, let's get your mind off it, I'll take you to a club. So they go to a club, and of course then it becomes like the movie Taken. Okay, which I loved. And so, you know, she is taken by these drug dealers. And two guys, they're the Martinez brothers, Victor and Hugo Martinez. One played by Sergio Peris-Mencheta. I said that with an Italian accent, but I think he's Spanish. And then the other guy was Oscar Juanada. I think that's how you say his name. Sorry guys if I screwed it up. I'm not too good with those kind of... Anyway, so these two guys are the scum of the earth. They're running young girls in whorehouses and sporadic areas around the city, and guys are just lining up. And there was this really horrible scene where they're all lined up down a hallway, and this like madam is there, and she's like, I don't care if it's 50 guys lined up. You're gonna do it and you're gonna like it. I mean, just really nasty stuff, man. And so they give them all the drugs. They got these people on drugs. They shoot up heroin. So Stallone, so Rambo's like, he gets word that she went down there, and he's like, I gotta go down. I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna get her. He finds Giselle, and dude, I thought he was gonna kill her, okay, but he didn't. So he finds Giselle, and he's like, where's Gabrielle? And Giselle's like, oh, I don't know. And she throws her hands up like this, and then puts her hand on the counter, and she's got a bracelet, which is a bracelet that was from Gabrielle's mother who died, that gave it to Gabrielle, that she was wearing. So she stole it from Gabrielle after she was given over to the sex traffickers, okay? And Rambo just grabs that wrist, and he's like, if you don't tell me. And this girl's like 18, 16, 17, 18. This is Rambo. He's like 65 years old or whatever, 70 years old. Grabs this girl by the wrist and he says, I will kill you right now if you don't tell me. And dude, I believed him. I looked at the eyes. Stallone just sold it. She tells him, she takes him to the club with it. He finds the guy who's kind of like, if you saw the movie Taken, before the girl gets auctioned off, there was that guy that was at the airport that was like, hello, you want to share a cab? You want to share a cab? And they're like, yeah, okay. This is the guy that takes the girls. Dude, Stallone gets this guy, he follows him, he stalks him, and then there's a reporter that you don't know it's a reporter. Paz Vega is in the movie, and she plays this reporter that's trying to bust up the sex rings, and her sister had been kidnapped and died in the hands of these drug dealers too. They drugged her up, and she overdosed and was raped. So you find out that a little later, but she's following Rambo as Rambo's like stalking this guy. Rambo gets this guy with what I would call one of the best scenes in cinematic history as far as like action films, Rambo films, Terminator movies, whatever. This was so brutal. So he takes his knife and he puts it at this guy's throat and he puts him down, and then he flips it around, takes the butt of the knife and breaks this guy's clavicle right here. That collarbone, just breaks it, snaps it, and shatters it. And the guy's like, ah! Then he takes his knife, flips it around, boom, right in the guy's thigh. And the guy's screaming, and then, dude, Rambo grabs the guy's collarbone, digs in. Now, you remember in Rambo when he was in Burma, he grabbed that guy by the throat, ripped his throat out, slit his stomach open, and all the guts came out. Grabs this guy's collarbone, snaps it, pulls it out of the skin, and he's like, tell me where she is, and he's wiggling it, turning it. I was in the theater like this, going, oh my God, just snapping like this. It was so brutal. I'm sorry, like the new Terminator movie's coming out. Nothing in that movie, and Terminator's gonna be rated R, Dark Fate, is gonna come close to the brutal violence that's in Rambo, that's in this movie. So, guy obviously gives up the info. Then he goes to see the Martinez brothers, and they get the drop on him. They beat the living shit out of him, and then they not really leave him for dead. They want him to be alive because they tell him, look, we're going to go back into that house. We're going to find Gabrielle because we know she's there, and we're going to rape her, and we're going to drug her, and we're going to do so much to her just so that you know. And they take Rambo's knife and they slit Rambo's face and mark him like some sort of Mexican cartel thing. They mark his face, they beat him down, and then everybody leaves. It was like a gang of 50 guys just totally wailing on him. Then Paz Vega, the reporter, finds Rambo, takes him back to the house, stitches him up. He's been down for like 4 days, and in those 4 days, the gangs have been raping Gabrielle to the point where she may not come back. So Rambo comes to. 4 days later, he's ready to unleash hell. He gets the information about where the whorehouse is. He goes in there. He's got no weapons now, and he goes in there with a hammer, a plain old basic hammer, and he just starts wailing on people left and right, almost like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Incoming mail, pow! Incoming mail, pow! I mean, he is just whacking people to death with this hammer. Finds Gabrielle, picks her up, takes her. He tried to free other women, almost like he tried to free POWs. He kept going room to room. Get out, get out, get out! But they wouldn't leave. They'll kill me, no, they'll kill me, I can't. I'm under the control of the thing. So, get out! And they wouldn't. So he's like, all right, I'm taking Gabrielle and leaving. Gabrielle, on the way back, you came back for me. Of course, we're family, all this kind of stuff. And they slit her face open with the same mark that so they were both tagged. Oh my God. And of course, she dies in the car on the way home. Man, my heart. I'm going to tell you something. Yvette Monreal, I think that's how you say her name, who played Gabrielle, she was so good in this role. Every time she cried, it was so real. It was, as an actress, she had her cry cook on. It's what you call the cry cook. You cook it up, and then you start crying. She was so good. and it sucks that she died. But of course we wouldn't have the rest of the movie, the third act, if it wasn't for her dying. So Rambo goes back to the house, and of course he had these caves all dug out that he had let the kids earlier in the movie have a party down there, almost like the caves in Vietnam. Just, it's like in his head he could never leave. So he's got this beautiful acreage, and he rides horses and everything. He's on the plains, but down below is his own personal hell, where he's like making knives from scratch and all. Well, he booby traps the entire tunnel system, and then of course all the guys, the Martinez brothers, and all their one of the Martinez brothers didn't make it. Victor. One of the things that Stallone did while he was down there in Mexico rescuing, dude, he butchered this guy so much, cut his head off. He's driving down the highway, drops the head out, it bounces off the concrete. Dude, it is sick. Heads literally rolled in this movie. So the other brother wants to avenge his brother, and blah, blah, blah. A whole posse comes. And it's like, it looks like a dozen or so people, but then they just keep getting killed after kill after kill after kill. And it almost seems like there was 50 people there. But when the cars all opened up the doors, they all piled out. It looked like about a dozen or so people, but it ended up being like 40 kills. And Stallone just kills all of them. And he had warned Hugo, the one surviving brother. He said, if I get a hold of you, I want you to feel the pain in my heart and what you did to my heart. You're going to feel exactly how I felt. So at the end, man, look, everybody gets killed. And they all get killed in crazy ways. Feet getting cut off, booby traps falling on spikes. I mean, you name it, the shit went down. And of course, with the bow and arrow at the end, Stallone just nails this guy to the inside of a barn. Boom, shoulder, boom, thigh, boom, thigh. The guy's like, ah! And then here comes Stallone, and he pulls out the classic knife. And he's all beat up at this point too, man. He's been shot twice, his shoulder and his rib cage. And he walks up, and he's like, I told you, you're gonna feel what it's like to have my heart ripped out while you watch. And boom, and he literally goes in, and he starts coming down, he starts going like this, he starts coming back up, opens up the chest, and he rips this guy's heart out. He made the scene in Temple of Doom look like kitten play. He had the guy's heart, and he showed the guy's heart. The guy dies like that. He's got the heart, and he throws the heart down on the ground. The end. That's the movie. He walks out, goes back on the porch, and he's in a rocking chair bleeding to death like this. And you're like, oh my God, is this how it ends? And he's like, I'm home, I'm finally home. He's got all these bodies around him. His tunnels are all blown up. He's killed everybody. Then the credits start to roll, which is real. It was like a hard cut. And then the credits started rolling. And I'm like, what the hell? But then they started showing these montages from all the different movies. And you're piecing together the journey as it went along. And then one thing that they didn't show, because then they get to Rambo Last Blood, and they start showing highlight scenes every time there's a credit card that comes up with like 5 names. There's something going on over here. Then they show, just like a classic Western, Rambo Last Blood Rambo, who was on the rocking chair, is now on a horse riding off into the sunset. Now, does that mean it's the last Rambo film? I don't know. First of all, the movie cost $50 million, so it needs to make $100 million to break even. It did not do that well opening weekend. It's going to fall off at least 65%. This weekend, it's going to make all of its money overseas. And that's the bottom line when it comes to these Rambo films, okay? But the brutality in this film is hands down amazing. If you're a Rambo film, if you're a Stallone film, if you like all of Stallone's movies, Cobra, Demolition Man, if you like The Expendables, which this was like a build-up of the violence, because it's like he was testing the waters with every Expendables film. How much violence, how many heads can explode, how many things, what can we get away with? If you like Stallone and you love classic 80s type style action films, you're gonna love Rambo Last Blood. And I'll tell you this, Rotten Tomatoes can suck it, because they had this movie right now, I think Sunday night, they have it at 27%. Critics, 83% audience. The people that went and saw the movie, like me, enjoyed the hell out of this film. Period. Okay? Rotten Tomatoes is constantly getting it wrong when it comes to what the critics like and what the audience likes. Okay? The critics are all, they're so afraid to like a movie like this because they're not woke. Oh, it's too much violence, you know, or oh, it's, you know, there's so much going on in this, you know, the women are brutalized. Like, look, enough with the woke social justice warrior stuff, okay? This movie was made for a certain type of audience, and you're obviously not it. And critics, you know, they love to give praise to certain movies because it makes them, you know, like on a social status, seem woke. Right? But it's the audience that matters. Same thing with like Star Wars The Last Jedi. I'll just go off on a little tangent here for a second. You know, 43% audience score, 93% critic score. The audience hated that movie because The Force Awakens had an 86% audience score and a 92% critic score. You don't go from The Force Awakens with that kind of audience score to The Last Jedi and it not really mean something. So when it comes to Rambo Last Blood, people should stop going to Rotten Tomatoes altogether. They're a bunch of hacks. The critics that they use suck. Go with the audience score if you're going to go there to actually see what a movie's like. Rambo Last Blood rocked. It was one of my favorite movies of the year. And yes, I like other stuff too. But this movie just took the cake for me. It ended out the summer the right way on a high note. So if you like this kind of stuff, if you like Expendables, if you like Stallone, you're going to love Rambo Last Blood, okay? You're not there for the storyline. You're there to see Rambo destroy things. They're never going to capture the lightning in the bottle of the first movie written by the original author. They're never going to capture that heartfelt sympathy for post-traumatic stress and stuff. Forget it. Ever since he went to Burma, it's all kicking ass and taking names later. What did you think of Rambo Last Blood? Let's talk about it in the comments section, and we'll see you on the next video.